Welcome to the Intuitive Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Rafferty, medical doctor, PhD, Reiki and shaman, intuitive healer. I'm here to bring you on a journey of holistic healing that explores the science of the physical body combined with mental and emotional well-being, energetic and spiritual health. And I am so excited for you to be here today because this is episode 2. And we will be exploring matters of the heart and everything to do with love, which I really was thinking a lot about that this week with Valentine's Day obviously having gone by. But also I've been seeing more and more in the clients that have come through my door, through the gay men's healing circles that I was running last year, that really a lot of the root of a lot of the circumstances and situations people are finding themselves in all comes back to or boils down to an absence of love for self. And what I tend to say to people is the energy of love is like a light. It's like a beacon of light that shines from the heart. Love is one of the highest vibrational frequencies of energy that we have. So things like enlightenment, love, joy, all of these things vibrate at such a high frequency. That's why sometimes when you meet certain people that have a truly deep understanding of themselves, they love themselves deeply, they emit this beautiful light. You can see it in their eyes, you can feel it in their hearts, you can feel it touching you. Emotional vibrations and frequencies that are lower tend to be shame, guilt, fear, all of these things, hatred. They're low vibrational frequencies. And most of us carry those energies around through conditioning, through trauma that we've had. When we're younger and we experience these things, and we don't have to be younger, we can also be a bit older, our energy, our hatred for the person who did those acts to us, it becomes misdirected. It turns inward. We begin to hate ourselves as a byproduct of the trauma that we experience. And essentially, we carry around the wounds and the burdens and the weights within our body of the traumas that we experienced because we hate ourselves as a byproduct of these circumstances. And that can be something some people carry around for most of their lifetime. And it's about going deep into that and really beginning to challenge yourself to be like, actually, what elements of myself do I not like? Where do I hold hatred within my body? And it can make us feel so sticky. It can make us feel so sticky going to those places. They're the places that we hold deep in the shadows. But the shadows are where we will retrieve our power. We will retrieve our love for ourselves. And then when we begin to vibrate that frequency out, we will draw that love back into our heart. And just coming back to that, when we begin to shine that light and frequency of the love energy out into the world, you will touch other people. You will help them to recognize that love within their own heart. The light that we hold in the heart, it's like the sun. And, you know, I love this analogy and I use it sometimes when I'm talking to people because it's a beautiful representation of what I see in my clients as they heal on their journeys. So when the sun begins to rise in the morning, we all get out of bed, we run around, we do our activities. And you know those days when the sky is so blue, the warmth of the sun is on your face. You feel so good. You feel so good. You have more energy, you're out and about, you're doing your activities. But then when the sun starts to set in the evening, it goes dark again, our circadian rhythm, our natural ebb and flow with the world, with the universe, we go into a slumber, we go to sleep. Now, if you spend most of your life living in the shadows, you yourself will be asleep because there's no sun to get in there. You yourself will be asleep, but everybody around you, they won't be able to live to their fullest potential either because your sun, the light that you hold in your heart, it's not shining upon them. They're in the dark as well. So when your sun begins to rise like the sun in the sky, the sun in your heart beams blue skies, light, joy. Every person that you come in contact with will wake up. Your sun will help their sun to shine. So every single person that you touch on that day that your sun is shining as brightly as possible from your heart space, you will touch. And when their sun rises, they'll go on and touch someone else. And this is so, so important because our sun will get brighter and brighter, and that light will shine more wholly when we delve deeper into our sense of self-love. Now, how do you love yourself? This is the hard part, and it took me so long to figure this out. I was on a journey for a very long time with self-love. And, it's so interesting because I was the person that I have just talked about who always felt, oh my God, I keep meeting these people that are emotionally unavailable. And then I realized, oh my God, Tony, they're not the problem. You are, everybody's just meeting you in a space that you're comfortable in. And I was comfortable avoiding vulnerability. I was comfortable not looking into my shadows. And I was comfortable not looking at the shame and the self-hatred and all of the things that I had accrued on my journey in life. I was comfortable not doing that. So it's no wonder that I met people who were comfortable in meeting me in that space because we were both safe. We felt safe not to explore those things together, And it took me a long time to actually figure out, well, how are we going to explore this? How am I going to go deeper into myself? Because I was craving vulnerability. I was craving it. I was craving a heart-centered connection. I was craving that love that transcended lifetimes. And in order for me to achieve that, and I'm still on that journey, I needed to go into my shadows. I needed to look at those elements of myself that I was afraid to be vulnerable with, which were my limiting beliefs. And this is the first step I feel that may help people on their journey, is going deep into your limited beliefs about yourself. I want you to get a pen and a paper, and I want you to sit down with a cup of tea and get really bloody vulnerable with yourself. And I want you to start journaling it out. Every single thing that you don't like about yourself. Everything. And when you begin doing that, you will actually be shocked at what comes to the surface. Allow your intuition to guide you. And write down every single thing, even if some of those things hurt, because that is what is in the depths of your subconscious. And as you bring light to the subconscious and allow those thoughts to flow into your conscious space and out onto the page, you will then get a very real picture about the aspects and the elements of yourself that you don't like. And that exercise for me was really painful because in black and white on the page, I could see every little part of myself that I did not love, that I did not hold with light from my heart space. And that's painful and it's sticky to actually come to terms with that. So take your time, get everything out on the page. Then what I want you to do is get a blank page, a fresh slate. And I want you to go through every single term that you've written down. And I want you to write down the exact opposite of that. Write down the exact opposite of everything you hate about yourself and turn it and transform it into a beautiful energy of love for self, because that's what you need to embody moving forward. And the heart is a really special place because within the chakra system, the heart is where we transmute or we transform dark energy into light. So when we go deep into the aspects of ourselves that we don't love and we begin to transmute those energies into light energy, the whole energetic system will begin to change. Every aspect of our being begins to change. So write down everything on a page in its new form. Every element of yourself that you want to embody that represents love for self and not hate for self. And that was the first step for me in my journey of transformation. It was about identifying the elements I didn't like and the elements that I wanted to now embody. And the shamans do this beautiful thing called a fire ceremony, where you light a fire. You can even use a candle. You hold that page that has all of the things you want to release, you don't want to identify by anymore. You read each one and you feel it in the body. Where does that phrase or term that you've pulled from the darkness, where do you feel it in the body? You hold the energy of that and then you blow it into the page. And you do it for every single phrase that you've written down that you want to release from your body that you don't identify by anymore. And when you've released all of the energy into the page by blowing all of these sentiments in, you set that page alight, you burn that, you burn it in the flames, and you watch all of those old and limiting beliefs of yourself burn away. Because what you are going to now focus on and draw in is all the beautiful elements that you've now identified you want to embody. And that is the first step. Go back to that new version of yourself often, read those phrases and terms, and that is the new journey for your journey into the heart, into the light, and into a sense of self-love. The second thing that I recommend for people on this journey of self-love is to begin tapping deep into your intuition. Because when you begin to identify the parts of yourself that you actually want to heal, you begin to allow love and intuition to flow within the heart. Intuition is linked so heavily to our heart space. And instead of listening to the crazy critic that goes on in our mind, it's about beginning to trust the intuition in our heart. So after you've done these initial kind of aspects of identifying what your limiting beliefs are and transforming or transmuting those into your new versions, I want you to begin asking yourself on the day-to-day, if anything arises at all, if a decision has to be made, ask yourself this one question. What would someone who loved themselves do in this situation? And your intuition will answer for you. And I want you to listen to the answer. Sometimes it's not an answer that you want to hear, unfortunately. Because when our intuition begins to speak to us and we actually go there and begin listening, we start to realize we do a lot of stuff to please other people. We do a lot of stuff to maintain the status quo. And a lot of us out there are people pleasers that are afraid to say no because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And when you are not being authentic or true to your heart, you are betraying yourself. That is an act of betrayal. And that is not self-love. So when you ask yourself, what would someone who loved themselves do in this circumstance? If your intuition tells you, well, I wouldn't go to that event. Actually, don't do that. Don't have another drink. Don't eat that. Begin listening to your intuition. And when you come into full alignment with what your heart and your intuition is telling you, you will begin going so deep into your journey of self-love that you will begin to notice that a vibrational frequency, everything around you begins to change. You will start to shed the situations, the circumstances, the people who aren't in alignment with your heart's desires, with your intuition. That stuff will naturally begin to fall away. So what do I mean when I say listen to your intuition? And this can be a super tricky thing to navigate when you actually really start tuning into your inner world, because a lot of us live most of our lives kind of detached from those inner workings of what's happening in the body. We live in a state of anxiety. And actually, one of the most fascinating things I heard this week was that if you switch around the letters in anxiety, it actually gives you any exit. And I loved that because literally when you're in a state of anxiety, that fight or flight feeling, you're looking for any exit from a circumstance. And I lived my life for so many years in a state of anxiety, constantly looking for the escape hatch, the emergency exits that I could do a burner if I needed to, you know? And it's really, really interesting because when we tune deep into our intuition, what does the body tell us? What is the body telling us? And this can be huge in relationships, actually, because sometimes we're sitting there and we're like, is my intuition telling me to do a legger here? Is it telling me to run, to find the exit, to find the escape hatch? Or is it actually telling me that, you know, there's something maybe not right here, but maybe I don't need to be running full steam ahead towards the exit? So I feel when we come into the body, the movement of energy, the movement of emotion, our feelings will give us so much information about what's happening for us. I tend to find that if our nervous system is being activated, and what do I mean by that? If we come up into our head, the thoughts start whirring around. If we feel little fires of energy burning, beginning to ignite within the body, your nervous system has been activated. A wound has been stimulated. There's some salt being rubbed into something there. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you can feel the churning begin in your belly, you can feel your heart rate increasing, I'm beginning to wonder what's happening in my nervous system here. What wound is being poked? And if that is the case, that is a beautiful opportunity for me to go deep within, because that person is actually giving me a gift. They're giving me a gift of a deep wound that I hold. And in previous days, and I still get easily triggered in circumstances, when that energy would arise, I'd go into my fight or flight state, my nervous system be activated, and I would then respond and begin speaking in that circumstance from a place of fear. And my ego, everything in my body is telling me, keep yourself safe. This is a familiar feeling. You need to keep yourself safe. And then I will project that wound and that trauma all over that other person. And that is totally not fair, And it's about actually being really vulnerable with yourself in those circumstances, because we can be really hard on ourselves because we're like, oh God, I know I acted from a place of deep wounding, from deep fear there, and then you beat yourself up, and it's almost like a double-edged sword then. It's a double arrow hitting you. The first one was the action that you inflicted, and then the self-hatred that then hits you as a second arrow, which wounds you even further, So usually what I say to people is, when those things happen in those circumstances, this is a beautiful time to pause, check in with the body. Am I being activated? Give yourself the space without acting upon that trauma, upon that wound in the circumstance. And generally speaking, when we step outside of that space and we enter into a space of calm within, the intuition can flow within the heart. When the heart is calm, when the gut is calm, when our mind is calm. And usually, we don't really highlight this enough when we meditate, and we can go into calm spaces where the mind just goes a little bit quieter, when the body goes a little bit quieter, when the heart can slow down, then we can tap into the intuition. The messages that come when we're in a space of calm, they tend to be intuitive messages. Whereas the messages that come from a state of nervous system activation, when the body is reacting, you can feel the little fires, the fireworks going off. They tend to be our little fears that are arising from a place of wounding from our past. But it's so important to begin listen to the intuition and listen to the heart. And on this journey, you'll hear terms such as self-care, self-gratitude, self-forgiveness. And you can go out and you can do all your self-care, but you can still really not like yourself that much. And this was something I did not realize for a very long time. I would show up to the gym, I'd do my gym, I'd eat my veggies, I'd do my meditation, I'd do all my self-care practices, but my relationship to myself, how much I loved myself, that wasn't really changing, because I wasn't going into the shadows to identify actually what parts of myself do I not like and what parts of myself need more love and compassion. So I think self-care is an element of the journey to self-love, but it isn't the whole story. I think the shadow work actually is where we need to go in order to really change our relationship to ourselves. And of course, when you begin listening to your intuition, when you're asking yourself that lovely question about what someone who loves themselves would do, you will naturally begin to actually care for yourself more. You'll eat healthier foods. You'll get the movement going in the body. You'll naturally do things that are more caring. The self-care practices will come as a byproduct of that. Okay? But it's also important to hold yourself in a state of forgiveness. That when you look back to future or past versions of yourself, you're thinking to yourself, oh God, I really regret that. Oh God, I shouldn't have said that. We are all our own worst critics. Hold yourself in a place of forgiveness at that time. Because how you acted at that time, that was a younger version of yourself that was keeping you safe from any further wounding, safe from anything that was going to hurt you. And actually just have some gratitude that that version of yourself kept you safe in that circumstance. But also forgive yourself. Forgive those things. Forgive the things that happened and just give yourself a bit of slack, you know? And also hold yourself in a state of gratitude. Gratitude to the future or the past versions of yourself that held you in a space that kept you safe. Give yourself gratitude. You are doing your absolute best. And every day when we show up in this big and beautiful world, don't speak harshly to yourself. You are doing your absolute best. Whether that's 100% today or just 5% tomorrow, just cut yourself some slack. You are doing your best. Now, one further thing before we finish up that I found profoundly transformative of my journey with self-love was an absolutely beautiful meditation practice called the Metta Bhavana that I learned on my journey through the Triratna Buddhist system. It is one of the two main meditations that they teach when you're starting out. And it's all about heart-centered love and energy. And it literally transformed my life in the early stages of my journey with self-love. It's an absolutely beautiful practice. If you Google Metta Bhavana, you can find it online. You'll find it on YouTube. There's a beautiful app that I use, there's thousands of meditations. We'll link to it in the show notes. It's called Insight Timer. You can download it onto your phone, but you can search for Metta Bhavana. And it's all about cultivating the feeling and the energy of love within the heart space. So when you sit and you meditate, it's actually the energy and the emotion. And with gratitude practice, this is the same. It's actually about cultivating the energy. The feeling is what will change your relationship to it. And when you begin to cultivate this beautiful energy of love in the heart, thinking about someone, something, even a past circumstance that you felt truly loved, or you held the energy of love within the heart space, you bring that feeling back to yourself. You hold it in the heart, you hold it in the chest, and you begin radiating that energy to yourself. Allow that energy of love to fill your body. Imagine yourself even watching yourself and projecting that energy of love onto yourself. That's the first stage of the meditation. You then can move on. There's various different stages in which you move on to someone that you love or hold true and deep connection with in your life, projecting that amount of love onto them. Then onto someone you don't know that well, someone from down the shop that you bumped into. Then someone you don't know. Someone that's in your life that's causing you turmoil or strife, and then projecting the love out to the world. And what this is teaching you to do is to connect with the energy of love, but then be able to actually project and hold that energy for people you don't even know. And it literally transformed my life. It's a beautiful practice. So those are my top 3 recommendations for what changed my relationship to my own heart and my sense of self-love. And just to recap, that's journaling out what your limiting beliefs are. Take the time to do the sticky job, and then take the time to actually lean more into the elements, flipping it on its head, that you want to then embody moving forward. Do your little fire ceremony and release all of those parts of yourself that you no longer identify with. The second one is asking yourself, what would someone who loved themselves do? That's so transformative. Ask yourself that question multiple times throughout the day, and I'm guaranteeing you in a matter of weeks to months begin to realize that your relationship to self and the world around you is changing as a byproduct of that. And the third one is that beautiful heart-centered Buddhist meditation, the Metta Bhavana, which will change your relationship with the energy of love you hold in your heart and how you broadcast and project that out to the world. And just before I finish up, there is this absolutely beautiful poem that someone recommended to me this week. And it touched me so deeply. I actually just wanted to read it out to you. It's so beautiful. I'm just going to read 2 or 3 little excerpts from it rather than the whole thing, but it's by Imelda May. It's called Home. So I'd encourage you to go and read the whole thing. But these are just 2 or 3 of the little paragraphs that really spoke to me, and I feel it's a beautiful way to end this episode. What is love, you ask? My head spins, recalling every song, story, words, and glorious things I ever heard. Every cliche rings in my ears, like a bell announcing the birth of a new day, or the death of yesterday. Depends on how you hear it. I haven't a clue. So I ask love, what are you? And love replies, can't you feel me? I'm here. I'm the one holding your hand, reminding you not to forget me. I'm the warm feeling in your belly when you don't know why. I'm the ache to the core when someone sways to the other side of a vibe. I'm the tingle on your skin when it's touched by the lip of a thrill you can only rely on. I'm nothing fancy in a world dripping with gold, but a beautiful jewel, never bought, never sold. And when you open your heart and let me in alone, you'll know who I am, because I feel like home. And I just absolutely, it touched me so deeply. I absolutely loved it. Because when you actually lean into that feeling within the heart space, it will be so familiar to you and it will hold you in such a beautiful way that you will literally feel like you're coming home. Okay? So thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. It's been such a pleasure to just touch on a few elements of what self-love looks like. And I just wanted to give some tools to people to begin working on the relationship with self-love. And, I firmly believe that when we change our relationship to that, our entire world begins to change. So thank you so much for being here. And also, if you are enjoying these episodes, don't forget to rate and share with people you think would also love to hear what we're talking about. And I'd also like to just remind people as well that we're doing a beautiful transformative healing retreat in southern France from April 29th to May 2nd. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm running the retreat with a beautiful yogi, Aoife Miniter. We'll be doing some yoga, some ecstatic dance, some breath work. We'll be doing group energy healing. We're doing some beautiful shamanic journeying together, some fire ceremonies. And we've also organized some absolutely spectacular food, some regional wine tasting, and some dinners out in the beautiful local area, which is just spectacular. And at the moment, the group of people who are coming together for this, I can't describe to you how their energy and just how beautiful these souls are. It's just going to be such a special time. So we still have some places available on that. Don't hesitate to reach out to me on social media through my website, www.intuitivehealth.ie. I'm at The Intuitive Medic on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. There's always a heap of ways you can get in touch. But tune in again in 2 weeks where we will be exploring some beautiful topics for Women's Health Month, which I'm super excited about. It's one of my favorite things to explore and to help educate people on their bodies. So I will look forward to seeing you then. Sending love from my heart to yours, Dr. Anthony.